you know that two of the world's largest religions, Christianity and Islam, didn't just grow side by side but clashed, coexisted, and influenced each other in ways that shaped the world as we know it today? Where did it all begin, and why has their relationship been so complex? In this video, we'll explore the roots of these faiths, their shared histories, and the centuries of conflict and collaboration. Stay tuned because, at the end of the video, you'll see why understanding this history is crucial for understanding today's world. In Europe, Christianity was the undisputed ruler of hearts, minds, and power structures. The Catholic Church dominated the western part of the continent, influencing everything from education to governance. Meanwhile, the Eastern Orthodox Church held sway in the Byzantine Empire, creating a unique cultural and spiritual identity. Christianity was a political powerhouse, setting the stage for alliances, wars, and societal norms. At the same time, Islam was rising rapidly in the East. Following the life and teachings of the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century, Islamic civilizations spread like wildfire, reaching across the Middle East, North Africa, and even parts of Europe. Al-Andalus, or Muslim Spain, became a beacon of Islamic culture and learning, showcasing the empire's intellectual and artistic achievements. But the Middle Ages weren't just about divisions. These weren't two monolithic blocks clashing endlessly. There were moments of coexistence, exchange, and shared progress. Jewish communities thrived under both Christian and Islamic rule, often serving as intermediaries between the two cultures. Jewish scholars preserved ancient texts, translated works from Arabic to Latin, and contributed to advancements in philosophy, medicine, and science. Regions like Spain became fascinating cultural crossroads. In cities such as Toledo and Córdoba, mosques, churches, and synagogues stood side by side, reflecting the diverse and layered history of the time. This was a period where intellectual and cultural exchanges were just as important as territorial disputes. Yet, beneath the surface of cooperation and shared achievements, tension brewed. Both Christianity and Islam sought to expand their influence, claiming new territories and consolidating power. Their growing dominance meant inevitable clashes as empires vied for control over lands, trade routes, and people. Maps from the Middle Ages reveal shifting territories, with Christian and Islamic borders overlapping in places like the Iberian Peninsula and the Holy Land. It was a time of fluid boundaries, both physical and cultural, where coexistence could easily give way to conflict. This period set the stage for the Crusades, where these two powerful faiths would collide in a series of brutal military campaigns. But before we dive into that, we need to understand how Christianity itself evolved during this time. What drove its growth? How did it solidify its influence? And what challenges did it face along the way? Stay tuned because moving on, we'll uncover the twists and turns that made this faith a global force. You won't believe how much its journey influenced the battles and alliances of the Middle Ages. The evolution of Christianity is a story of unity, conflict, and adaptation, one that shaped the Middle Ages and beyond. But what drove its transformation from a single movement into a divided powerhouse? One of the most defining moments in Christianity's history was the Great Schism of 1054. At its core, this was a split between the Catholic Church in the West and the Eastern Orthodox Church in the East. The reasons were both theological and political. Disputes over papal authority, differences in religious practices, and centuries of cultural divergence created a rift that was impossible to mend. The Catholic Church believed the Pope in Rome held supreme authority over all Christians, while the Eastern Orthodox Church, centered in Constantinople, rejected this notion. They also disagreed on matters like the use of unleavened bread in communion and the nature of the Holy Spirit. These differences might seem minor today, but at the time, they were enough to fracture the Christian world in two. Despite this division, Christianity continued to spread across the globe. The Crusades, which began in 1095, were a major force in this expansion. While their primary goal was to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control, the Crusades also served as a way for Christianity to assert dominance, spread its influence, and strengthen its institutions. Crusaders brought back not just spoils of war, but also cultural and scientific knowledge from the Islamic world, enriching Europe in unexpected ways. Beyond the battlefield, Christianity also spread through missionaries, who traveled to remote regions, converting local populations. Figures like St. Patrick in Ireland and St. Augustine of Canterbury in England played pivotal roles in bringing the faith to new territories. This missionary work often intertwined with colonization, as European empires used Christianity as a tool to justify their expansion into new lands. But Christianity's evolution wasn't just about politics and conquest, it was also about adaptation. As it spread, it absorbed elements of local cultures, blending pagan rituals into Christian practices. For example, holidays like Christmas and Easter incorporated pagan symbols like evergreen trees, eggs, and bunnies, making Christianity more relatable to converts. This blend of traditions helped the faith take root in diverse societies, transforming it into a global force. Visually, this period of Christianity's growth was marked by stunning achievements. Stained glass windows told biblical stories to largely illiterate congregations. Illuminated manuscripts like the Book of Kells showcased the artistry and devotion of medieval monks. Churches and cathedrals, from the modest chapels of rural villages to the grandeur of Notre Dame, became symbols of faith and power. Christianity's evolution was anything but linear. It was a mix of unity and division, conquest and compromise, adaptation and tradition. But as the faith grew, so did its influence and its conflicts. Now, moving on, we'll explore Islamic and Jewish influences and how these communities not only coexisted with Christians, but also became central to cultural and intellectual exchanges. You won't believe how much of today's knowledge stems from this fascinating collaboration. What if the greatest advancements in science, art, and philosophy during the Middle Ages came not from conflict but from collaboration? While much of history focuses on the clashes between Christianity and Islam, there's another side to the story, one of peaceful coexistence and intellectual exchange. How did the Islamic and Jewish communities shape the world during this time, and what legacy did they leave behind? The Islamic world of the Middle Ages was a beacon of innovation, particularly during the Islamic Golden Age, which spanned roughly from the 8th to the 14th centuries. Cities like Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba became centers of learning and culture. Muslim scholars excelled in fields such as mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy. Al-Khwarizmi, often referred to as the father of algebra, developed foundational concepts that are still used in mathematics today. Meanwhile, scientists like Ibn al-Haytham made groundbreaking contributions to optics, and philosophers like Avicenna shaped the study of medicine and metaphysics. However, the impact of Islamic advancements didn't stop within their societies. Much of this knowledge found its way to Europe, where it profoundly influenced the Renaissance. This intellectual exchange was facilitated by Jewish scholars who served as cultural and linguistic bridges between the Islamic and Christian worlds. Fluent in Arabic, Hebrew, and Latin, they translated key texts on science, philosophy, and medicine, preserving ancient Greek works and expanding upon them. Figures like Maimonides, a Jewish philosopher and physician, were instrumental in blending these traditions, creating knowledge that transcended religious boundaries. One of the most remarkable examples of coexistence was found in Al-Andalus, or Muslim Spain. This region became a melting pot of cultures, where Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived side by side. Cities like Cordoba and Toledo stood out as centers of learning, boasting libraries, schools, and architectural marvels like the Alhambra. The interaction between these communities wasn't just about tolerance, it was about collaboration. Muslim architects borrowed elements from Roman and Visigothic styles, while Christian and Jewish scholars studied Arabic texts to advance their understanding of the world. Islamic calligraphy and geometric art influenced European artistic traditions, and even basic concepts like the numerals we use today were introduced to Europe through Islamic culture. The sharing of knowledge during this time wasn't just a byproduct of proximity, it was a deliberate effort to learn from one another. However, this era of peaceful coexistence wasn't without its challenges. As both Christianity and Islam expanded, political tensions often overshadowed cultural harmony. The fragile balance of cooperation would eventually give way to conflict. How did this shift happen? What caused the relationships between these religions to move from coexistence to confrontation? Now let's talk about the battles, power struggles, and rivalries that changed the course of history. Stay tuned, because this is where things take a dramatic turn. The early conflicts between Islam and Christianity were as much about political power and territory as they were about religion. These battles not only shaped the Middle Ages, but also left a legacy that continues to influence the world today. Let's explore how these rivalries unfolded and what they meant for both faiths. The Crusades are perhaps the most infamous chapter in this story. The First Crusade, launched in 1095 by Pope Urban II, was a response to the rise of Islamic power in the Holy Land. The goal was simple: reclaim Jerusalem and other Christian holy sites from Muslim control. But the reality was far more complex. Thousands of knights and peasants from across Europe embarked on this perilous journey, driven by religious fervor, promises of eternal salvation, and the allure of glory and wealth. In 1099, they captured Jerusalem in a brutal siege, massacring much of the city's population, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish alike. The Crusaders established Christian kingdoms in the region, but these gains were short-lived, as Muslim forces, led by figures like Saladin, fought back fiercely in subsequent campaigns. Beyond the Crusades, there were other critical battles where Christianity and Islam clashed. One of the earliest and most pivotal was the Battle of Tours in 732. Muslim forces, having advanced through North Africa and into Spain, attempted to push further into Europe. They were met by Frankish forces under Charles Martel, who decisively halted their advance in modern-day France. This battle was a turning point, preventing further Islamic expansion into Western Europe and solidifying Christianity's dominance in the region. But these conflicts weren't always straightforward battles of one religion against another. The political landscape of the Middle Ages was a maze of alliances and rivalries, with Christian and Muslim leaders occasionally working together when it suited their interests. For example, during the Reconquista in Spain, the centuries-long campaign by Christian kingdoms to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula, some Christian rulers allied with Muslim leaders to defeat their rivals. Similarly, Islamic caliphates often forged treaties with Christian powers to maintain peace or gain strategic advantages. The Reconquista, which culminated in 1492 with the fall of Granada, marked the end of Muslim rule in Spain and the rise of unified Christian monarchies. But it wasn't just a military victory. It also marked a shift in cultural and religious dynamics. The coexistence that had once defined Al-Andalus was replaced by forced conversions, expulsions, and persecution, particularly of Jews and Muslims. These early conflicts between Islam and Christianity were driven by a mix of faith, politics, and ambition. They shaped borders, influenced cultures, and left a legacy of both division and connection. But how did these interactions evolve? From colonization to migration, the relationship between Islam and Christianity continued to change, adapting to new global realities. Now let's explore how these two faiths transitioned from medieval conflict to modern coexistence, and why their dynamics still matters. One of the key factors in this transformation was global expansion. Christianity and Islam both spread far beyond their places of origin, reaching every corner of the world. Christianity's spread accelerated during the age of colonization, as European powers carried their faith to the Americas, Africa, and parts of Asia. Missionaries played a significant role in this expansion, often intertwining their religious work with colonial agendas. Churches, schools, and hospitals became tools for spreading Christian teachings and values. Islam's global reach expanded through trade and migration. Muslim merchants traveled along trade routes like the Silk Road and across the Indian Ocean, bringing their faith to Southeast Asia, West Africa, and beyond. Unlike Christianity's spread through conquest and colonization, Islam's influence in many regions grew through cultural exchange and commerce. Today, countries like Indonesia and Nigeria are home to some of the largest Muslim populations, showcasing the diverse ways Islam has taken root worldwide. In the modern era, migration has brought Christianity and Islam into closer proximity than ever before. Cities across Europe, North America, and Asia are now home to vibrant communities of both Christians and Muslims. This shared space has created opportunities for interfaith dialogue and cultural exchange, as well as tensions over differing values and traditions. Efforts to foster cooperation have gained momentum in recent decades. Interfaith initiatives, like those led by organizations such as the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations, promote mutual understanding and respect. Events like World Interfaith Harmony Week encourage Christians and Muslims to find common ground and work together on shared challenges like poverty, education, and climate change. However, challenges remain. Conflicts with religious undertones continue in regions like the Middle East, where political disputes often intersect with faith. In some areas, historical grievances between Christian and Muslim communities resurface, fueling division. Media narratives sometimes exacerbate these tensions, focusing on clashes rather than highlighting stories of coexistence. Despite this, there are countless examples of harmony. In cities like Sarajevo, mosques, churches, and synagogues share the skyline, symbolizing centuries of coexistence. Modern leaders in both faiths have called for peace and mutual understanding, emphasizing shared values like compassion, charity, and justice. But as the world becomes more interconnected, new questions arise. What role do religion and faith play in today's globalized world? Can Christianity and Islam work together to address global challenges? Or will their historical divides continue to shape their relationship? From shared beginnings to centuries of interaction, the histories of Christianity and Islam have shaped the world in countless ways, through art, science, politics, and shared culture. Their story is one of connection, not just division, and their impact on humanity is undeniable. As we look back at their journey from the Middle Ages to the present, we gain insight into the complexities of their relationship today and the possibilities for the future. In an increasingly interconnected world, understanding this history is more important than ever. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you believe fuels the tension between Christianity and Islam? Faith, politics, or something deeper? Or do you think these conflicts stem from historical events that we can work to heal? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about history's most pivotal moments, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends who love exploring topics like this. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.